I've dropped, I'd say probably about 20, 30 pounds in that time frame, 10% body fat, and things have been absolutely phenomenal.
Wanna like it, but now I'm loving every day. I'm going mad, I'm going crazy. I want my flowers, I want my daisies. Yeah, I look good, so does my lady. They try to copy, but can't imitate me. She wanna talk, she want relations. Money don't stop, we ain't separated. If I had to...
How are y'all doing? It's Alaniz, host of the Get Your Shit Together Man podcast and CEO and founder of Basics. We are the world's #1 elite fitness and nutrition coaching company for ambitious men all over the world that are looking to build their best body ever within only 16 weeks or less. To find out more information to see if or how you qualify to work one-on-one with the Basics team, please visit www.basicsbrigade.com. Or if you want to speak with me directly, you can use the link either in the podcast that you're listening to or in the YouTube description to book a free 15-minute call with me personally to see if or how you qualify to work with us. Follow us on social media at Aaron Alaniz Fits and the YouTube channel as well. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed. And today we have a very, very special guest here. This is a near and dear friend of mine, also one of our freaking students that has been freaking absolutely crushing it. Just a prime example of what we do here at Basics. So Ryan Barker, tell the people about yourself, man.
Hey, thank you so much, Aaron. Glad to be here. Appreciate the kind words, dude. So my name's Ryan Barker. I'm 27 years old out of Charlotte, North Carolina. Been working with Aaron here for probably about 3 or 4 months, and otherwise, just really kind of had come in finding Aaron, trying to dial in my fitness goals into a real lifestyle. So I remember we had a call probably that December timeframe where it was just kind of like, hey, I had been through the regimen. I actually moved around a bunch when I was younger. We can get into some of that later if you want to, just to the kind of who am I and the whole upbringing kind of thing. But in any regard, I had 4 or 5 different PTs through the years, a lot of change in my life, and I'd kind of started and stopped with fitness, but I failed in the long term to kind of keep things going. But then I had found Aaron through another service that we joined. Actually, a course he's talked about a couple times in previous podcast episodes. It's a dating service, actually. I'd seen him, hitting up the fitness channel, going through, giving guys tons of free, awesome game. Went through, kind of scoped him out after a few months, and was really impressed with what I saw. Decided to take the plunge. We were working together for about 3 or 4 months. I've dropped, I'd say probably about 20, 30 pounds in that time frame, 10% body fat, and things have been absolutely phenomenal.
Exactly, man. Just the progress that you've been able to see, Ryan, is absolutely insane, because you and I both know that results come from the execution. And sometimes not only is the execution really important, but the blueprint is also very important as well, right? And sometimes, just like you were saying with some of these other coaches and trainers that you had in the past, it sounds like it just didn't work for you long term, right?
100%. A lot of trainers will go and they'll give you basically a fitness program and then a meal plan, and then they'll walk away from it, right? And so what I've always told you that I love about what you do is the sustained accountability and sort of a trifecta, and that's really where the energy is when you get into the back end of this program, guys. So ultimately, I'm not going to lie to you. You're going to get what you put into this out of this, right? Aaron's not a magician, but if you've got the will, he's got the way, man.
Yeah, 100%. And that's the thing, man. Like sometimes we'll have some people that really say that they want it, and you and I both know, like we're super kind with certain things. So if they fall off track, I'll have a conversation with them. If we need to restart them, that way they don't feel like they wasted their investment, we'll go ahead and do so. And there's a lot of other coaching programs that aren't like that. A lot of people don't do that stuff. I know that there's this other program that I was in it was like one of those time frame periods too, and then it didn't start clicking for me until like a month or 2 later, and I was like, man, I wish I could start over, kind of thing. So we always try to do that, if you know what I mean.
100%, dude. And another thing that you just reminded me of that I want to touch on is and I think you hit on this earlier in the podcast too, but just to reiterate the point, a lot of your success with a coaching program really depends on your ability to interview the coach and find an actual coach and not like an influencer, right? So I've worked with a lot of different guys and been part of a lot of different communities in the past that are pretty high profile, but ultimately it's the core character traits that really makes a good fitness coach, that really gets you the results at the end of the day. Like Aaron and I talk every single day, guys. It's not an exaggeration.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And that's exactly what it is. Sometimes with the accountability, just like you were saying, man, it's a two-way street. As much as I do want to like proactively check on people, just as a human being, like we're reciprocal by nature, kind of thing. And it's like, so there's some things that you just can't like unwire within your own human DNA. So it's like when we have guys reaching out to us all the time, we're going to do the same thing because that's just what it is, kind of thing. sometimes when people stay ghosts from us, we'll reach out to make sure everything's okay, but it's hard to be proactive in that nature sometimes when someone's not giving you their 100% to begin with, you know?
Yes, sir.
So tell the people a little bit more about some of your about where you were before you joined the program with your fitness, with your nutrition, and even some of the mindset stuff that you kind of like your starting point before you joined.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. So just growing up, to get you at the very beginning, right? I come from pretty humble origins, right? So I was the kid up in upstate New York on the suburbs, and then right about 7, 8 years old, my life turned around pretty quick. My dad was a blue collar accountant for Price Waterhouse at the time. And then that company ended up going pretty under in that sector, and they said, "Hey, we're going to take your entire department, lay him off." Well, his director at the time pulled him into a room to a conversation that I would end up getting pretty early on in my career later on, as it turns out, and basically said, "Hey, this sector of the company is going down, but I'm going to put you on this fast track to this leadership development program that's happening with this mid-sized telco that I want you to join up on. It's going to be really hard, and there's going to be a lot of change. I'm not going to lie to you, but I think you can do it." And so from then on out, it was just every few years, my family was moving state to state, did some time in Michigan, did some time in Virginia, ended up in New York, Charlotte for the majority of it. But it was just kind of like at 7, he was the blue collar accountant. And by the time I'm 12, we're in North Carolina. He's the CEO of this mid-sized telecom company. So things kind of flipped completely backwards for me. And for a lot of guys, I know they like chase the excellence. They try to build up the finance. They try to figure out, hey, at 18, what the hell am I going to do with myself? In my respects, a lot of that was sort of the opposite, right?
Yeah.
But the kind of the trade-off there was when I was moving around as a kid, ended up going to college out of state or whatever. It was literally just like every 2 or 3 years, something was changing in my life. So I just got very used to this idea of a steady state in my life being changed. And the other thing is I'm the oldest of 3 brothers, right? So I was kind of the guy holding the whole ship together the entire time. Had a really good, solid family upbringing, right? Very strong Roman Catholic mother. And then, my father obviously taking that leadership position from a professional perspective. But I never really acclimated socially through that whole period, right? It was just kind of like constant change in setting for me. And I was always trying to look out for younger brothers, do the older brother thing. So it's just kind of like up until college, I had just kind of gone and gone and gone. I tried to connect with people, but it was sort of that experience of like I'd go try to make friends and then ultimately, end up in these situations where it's like as soon as I got to know people, I was on to the next thing. Then about 15 years old, my dad came to me and just said, "Hey, I know you're into computers. I know you're a tech guy," which is definitely true to heart. I'm a principal engineer for Verizon these days, actually. But would you like to come just get coffee from my engineering shop so you can learn stuff? And I was the kid that would ask 1,000 questions at that age. So that was the coolest thing to me. So I still remember 15 years old rolling up to get my early right to work permit because you needed one of those back in the day since I was so young. Ended up getting in the office, met a guy by the name of Doug Reed, who's like this legacy Bell Atlantic, super disciplined guy who instilled all these character traits that I still use to this day with Aaron and that sort of thing in terms of just, working hard and putting your nose to the grindstone, getting down towards the process and that sort of thing. I remember this guy, we had an exercise one of these days where we were like testing signal strength of Wi-Fi access points. And I was supposed to take the point across each of the different spots in the office and get a signal strength measurement. And it's like there's this one like range of signal strength. No matter where I put this thing in the office, I couldn't get to like that moderate signal strength. So I interpolated some data, and he could tell that I did some math and fudged some numbers. And he pulled me into his office for like a 2-hour conversation, not because I gave him into data set, but because I wasn't forthright about that. And that really taught me, hey, you've got to be able to own up to what you're doing and say you don't know when you don't know at the end of the day, right? But yeah, in any regard, did that for a few years and got started in corporate America very early, then kind of went to college to supplement the career a little backwards. And the entire time that I'm doing this, probably the end of high school throughout my adult life thereon, I also kind of started dipping my hand into fitness, right? So I tried everything from originally just starting with some friends that were into working out. And I had a college buddy who was like ridiculously into it that really pulled us in, got us in there, consistently 4 or 5 days a week. Dude's biceps did concentration curls, basically. Short, stout little European guy. And then as I started moving around, taking internships and stuff, I eventually left ACN, which was my dad's company, did a couple internships out of state, worked with various PTs, and then ended up getting out of college into Verizon in a leadership development program myself, where they gave me that same sort of speech my dad got about moving all around. Ended up moving every 6 to 12 months for 5 years after school. Met probably a new PT in every single state, that kind of thing. And it was always kind of like short bursts of starts and stops for me from a fitness perspective. I always really wanted to get it down and always wanted to dial into that. One of my favorite words and one of Aaron's favorite words is alignment, right? And so a big thing with me is, knowing what it is I want out of life and actively showing myself I'm taking the steps that I can't am going that direction, because ultimately the one person you can't lie to is yourself, right?
100%.
And so the thing is, and 100%, it was just kind of like, I was that through that entire period, I was trying and I'd go, but because I wanted it so bad, I'd try too hard and I'd end up burning out and then I'd crash, right?
Yeah.
And so I'd just never be able to sustain it. And that was just a repeating pattern. And then I had a lot of people in my life telling me too, as I got older, your relationship with fitness is going to change. You have all these responsibilities now. You're in this job, you're doing this or whatever. Fitness isn't going to be that way. You're never going to weigh the weight that you did. I had one particular PT in 2015 that got me all the way down to 8.5% body fat. He was actually the first one that I started working with, one of the most effective. It's funny how that works sometimes. Yeah. And then it was just kind of like every other guy after that was just trying to get back to where I was there, and it set up this thing in my mindset, right? And I remember even mentioning that to you when we met in December. But it was just like there were a lot of people, whether it was those PTs, my family or whatever, that would tell me through that journey, like, hey, this is going to happen. You're not going to be that same weight. You're not going to get there. You get a lot of those dissenting opinions, especially when you're trying to make those sorts of massive changes for yourself. But I'll tell you, having somebody like Aaron around who is going to champion what you're doing and hold you accountable on a day-to-day basis, make sure you're getting there. It's just so powerful, because you can completely break the mold. And that's exactly what I did. I mean, today I am, at that same weight that I was back then, and I'm benching like 265 pounds, which is just freaking insane to me, right? Even back in the day, the most I probably put up was maybe 215 on a good day, right? So it's, you can absolutely break your limits, guys.
That's incredible stuff, man. The thing is that you have a certain set of problems that guys kind of like us will deal with more so than most people. Like a lot of people that came from maybe impoverished backgrounds. That's the story you hear about more often, more so than the person with a good family that got promotions and then their environment's not static, kind of thing. And the thing is once that money problem is solved for you, you're left with problems that money can't solve. So no matter how much you make, if you keep going down that road, you're never going to be able to solve it with how much more you make. You know what I mean?
100%. And another thing that I'd tell you too, in the spirit of brutal honesty, it's interesting because you feel like you're talking about this first world problem, whatever, but it's absolutely very real. And what I'd tell you is, when you're that guy who's consistently had ability through his entire life and you've tangibly shown the results having that ability, you get faced with this very unique set of problems where now everybody wants to use your skill set in a million different directions. And you've got to really figure out what it is that you want out of your life at the end of the day, right? It gets a lot harder when everybody sees all of that potential in you and wants to take you the directions they want you to go. Does that make sense, man?
Yeah, it's just alignment, just like you were saying. It's like, what is it that you want when the doors are closed, and then just figuring out what that is for you. And then whatever that is for you, then you can start hearing other opinions. But sometimes you can get swayed one way or the other simply because someone might have some kind of influence over you, whether they used to be, they used to have like an angel effect over their head. You used to look up to them. Whatever the case may be, that's just how it is sometimes, right?
110%, dude.
Now, in terms of some of the problems that you faced before joining the program, it seems like sustained fitness was a big thing for you, because it's not like you didn't know how to work out. It's not like you didn't know how to do these things. It was just about sustaining it, right? Absolutely,
dude. Yeah, I would say that it was just, sustaining the fitness, and then also just not really giving the nutrition the respect it really deserved, right? So I love to tell people that Aaron doesn't give people meal plans. He gives them full nutrition protocols. He will give you literally everything you need down to the grocery list, right? And I think in today's world, that's really important. where 70% of what you're going to find on a grocery store shelf is processed crap that's actually actively going to kill you, right? And I remember I came into Aaron's program first few weeks with all those sorts of complaints too, and that kind of thing. But we ended up dialing it and actually like fully automating the grocery list and that whole thing. But it's, the big thing for me in terms of issues starting here was definitely just keeping up the consistency in the long game. Learning to accept and listen to my body is a big thing, because you want to constantly see yourself climbing up the stairs. Breaking the personal record every single workout and that kind of thing. Every guy likes to, tout their 1 rep maxes and that whole nine, but really when you're trying to make sustained progress over the long term, it's not really about that. It's about maximizing the volumes in your workouts, right?
Yeah.
And making sure on those days where your body is showing up and you're doing your pre-activation movements and something's not working right, that you're listening and saying, okay, I'm going to take it easier and lighter today. That way I'm taking 1 rest day versus taking 2 months worth of a rest day, right?
Yeah.
I never had any terrible injuries, thankfully, back in the day, but I certainly got close with some reckless decisions there.
Yeah.
And then, as the lifestyle got busier, I kind of like set up this mentality thing in my head where it was kind of like, oh, because I'm so hyper successful professionally, or I've got so much going on financially at the moment, then I just don't have as much time for fitness, or I don't have as much time to keep up with nutrition. Oh, well, I'm going to get on these rideshare services and order out food this night, that night, or whatever. And then you're just, basically filling the gas tank with, I'm trying to think of the word right now, but it's basically just putting like jam in a gas tank or something like that. Like, your car is not going to start or work right when you're feeding yourself processed crap, right? At the end of the day. And so the funny thing is like you'd get going and then you'd get busy and then you'd start eating worse. And then because you were eating worse, your performance would absolutely degrade. And then anything you do would just kind of grind to a halt, is how I describe kind of the general flow of that.
100%. It's just one of those things, man. It's like there's a lot of guys out there, because I'm sure us guys, we just like biologically speaking, we crave status kind of thing. And what's going to get you more status, the mill a year kind of thing, or is it going to be the body kind of thing? And really speaking about, it's going to be the mill a year. So sometimes people end up forgetting about the fitness, when really that's really important with everything that you got going on. So from your perspective, how important has fitness been in your career and you just chasing your purpose and becoming the ultimate version of yourself, rather than just being completely focused on what you got going on professionally?
I would call it it's definitely one of the top 3 most important pillars of my life today. And the reason I hold my fitness and nutrition to such high regard is because fitness and nutrition are one of those things that you do for yourself that are really going to get you to invest in you at the end of the day, right? And it is really easy in this sort of modern hustle culture to get really caught up in a lot of what you hear in all the self-improvement content. I'm not knocking self-improvement content. And Aaron and I both have that in common. We're junkies, always trying to level up, be the best person we can be to serve other guys. We both have very strong sense of service, and I admire that a lot about Aaron as well. But that's absolutely a character trait that I've got too. That being said, you have to do those things that prioritize you at the end of the day, because otherwise enough is never going to be enough for you, right? And that's been kind of the lesson of the last few years for me. It's like I can go in and I am, just being transparent with everybody, my net worth is a little under $600,000 right now, right? I have really made it from a professional perspective due to all those opportunities I told you about earlier on this call. But the thing with the finances I found there was this period where it was just so easy, especially when I started winning and things started really compounding, little wins into big wins, the micro into the macro, that sort of thing, where it's just like you get so addicted to it and you can't stop. There's that dopamine trigger in your head that gets going. And then you're just like, oh, I need more, I need more, I need more. But really life isn't about that. It's about finding that healthy balance to where you can feel like that fulfilled, aligned human being, right? So it's great. You can chase those wins, but like you said on the last episode, if you don't have a clear intention and goal for the complete person you want to be, right, then you're going to settle for where you end up on the journey.
Exactly. It's just you and I both understand that transformation is done within, and it reflects on the outside world. And sometimes we try to fill like gaping holes inside of ourselves as guys with the fancy stuff kind of thing. whether it's like the cool this, the cool that, the cool whatever, and then you just look in the mirror and you're still not happy with yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely, dude. And I think I think a lot of people don't necessarily realize that there's a level of marketing to a lot of what you hear out there these days too, right? And because that content has to, spread effectively and be received effectively, the most effective way for them to do that is to phrase that from a perspective of you lacking, right? So the thing is if you can't objectively evaluate what it is you're absolutely consuming, right? You may not even be listening to something that's relevant for the person you are and the place you're in, but it's very easy to get sucked in and feel like, oh, I need to do this more. I need to be that guy, right? You get on a brand targeted for, guys out of college that don't even know how to manage their stable income. And then you're just like, oh my God, I've got to I know I have this financial problem. And now you blow that way out of proportion when it's like, I should be on this physical issue because I haven't worked out in 6 months, right? I think it's very important to be able to maintain that objective perspective on what you're listening to and consuming.
100%, man. And I know you had that thing earlier where it's like the difference between a fitness influencer or an influencer in general versus an actual coach and an expert. And it sounds like you really understand that we're coaches and experts here, right?
100%, dude. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like a guy like Aaron is going to find where you're at, meet you where you're at, and get you where you want to go, right? Versus an influencer is going to go out and try to market to the masses. The masses is probably not you, right? A lot of problems are very individualized and require individualized solutions. So to plug my man Aaron here, that's what Basics is all about, right? Every fitness program, nutrition, meal protocol, everything he does is tailored to you. And if something's not working well for you, you can always go back and forth with them and figure out how to make it work right and work better.
100%. Now, what surprised you the most about the program? Because obviously there's the program itself, like the workout program, the nutrition protocol, the community, the group coaching calls, the one-on-one calls. There's so much more, even like the high performance tracking system that we have too. But besides like the tools, besides the features, quote unquote, like what surprised you the most about from going from the outside to the inside of our program?
I would say just how effectively you transition folks into the inside of the program. And when I say that, I mean specifically the community that you've built, right? So it is really an amazing job that the Basics team have put together here to just make sure that everybody that's inside the program actively wants to be bettering their lifestyle and is going along for the ride. There's an accountability partner system that Aaron's got going that's absolutely fire. It's a great way to network inside of that program, meet the other guys who are doing it with you. And then we still text back and forth every day, little jokes about the sadistic workouts that Aaron comes up with. Thank you for those push-ups today. Appreciate it. Among other things. And we just, have that whole brotherhood component going on. And that really makes all the difference in the world. Because when you're trying to tackle a hard problem and you've got 5 other guys trying to do the same thing with you, that just helps you push past all the plateaus, guys.
100%. And one of the things that a lot of people kind of think is because obviously since we market and we're in a niche that is filled with people that maybe don't have as much integrity as we do. And if we're using the same kind of methodologies with social media, some people are a little bit skeptical, right? So for anyone out there, Ryan, that is a little bit skeptical about joining, they see what we do, it looks real good, it looks real fancy, but they're not really sold on the idea of doing it just yet. And they really want a transformation. They're guys just like us, kind of thing. What would you tell that person?
Absolutely. I'll respond, but before I do, real quick, do you remember what it was like 3 or 4 months before I actually joined up with you when we had met in Casey's service?
What do you mean?
Just the back and forth that we had, that kind of thing, and just getting to know each other. Because the thing is I was honestly pretty skeptical of you when I met you, to be absolutely 100% real. And the thing is, and that's really what I tell these guys is, I think the skepticism is good and you want to make sure you're finding the right fit. Ultimately, Aaron comes at you, or, you come and see the material about Basics and you're like, oh, this is an online personal training program. I'm not really sure like online fitness is going to work. I kind of need my trainer to be in person or that kind of thing. But the funny thing is there are so many tools on the inside of this program that make it just so much more personal than any in-person personal training that I've ever done in my life. It's just crazy how well I know Aaron, how well I know all of the other guys that I'm working with in this program, because there's 3 weekly group coaching calls because there's this accountability partner system, because there's automated messaging coming in through all these apps that we use to keep things tracked and managed. There's such a data-driven approach to everything. Like, if you commit to this, you're going to be able to tangibly see your results on a daily basis throughout every step of the way, which is why it's so effective, right? You know, what a normal trainer is going to do for you, again, is going to give you a meal plan, going to give you a fitness program, meet with you maybe once, twice a week if you're lucky. You're never going to meet another client that they're working with. And you're going to be set up on some static time interval, whether it's 3 months, 6 months, whatever, for some static price. And that's really going to be that, right? You know, depending on the character of the person, you know, they may show up and follow up with you. But I mean, the thing is like the accountability is the pillar of literally everything we do at Basics. And that's the reason the entire model works. It would fall on its face the entire otherwise.
100%. It's just that personal accountability stuff that we got. We have the accountability in so many different regards, with the group coaching calls, the tech support, the one-on-one Zoom calls, the builder buddies. That's like 4 pillars of accountability that most people, if they had one, they would feel like they're the best in the world, kind of thing. That's what people don't realize, that we got 4 of them, you know?
100%. Oh, and then the other thing that I'd tell everybody is that a lot of that doubt that I had about you faded as soon as we did our interview call, right? And I had an idea that was going to be that way from just getting to know you, but especially after going through that formal process. I mean, guys, Aaron's going to really make sure that you want it at the end of the day, right? Because as he always said, one bad apple can ruin the entire shebang there. So it's just, he wants all his guys to, want the success, be executing on the daily basis. He's going to help them if they fall off, like he talked about earlier. But at the end of the day, it's up to you to execute.
100%. Execution is the key, man. Not only do we want to give you the blueprints to succeed, but the execution, man, is super, super important. So before we conclude, man, is there any final thoughts that you want to tell the people about kind of Basics, about your experience so far, and just everything else? Because now we got you locked in for a year or two, which is going to be fun, man. We decided to figure something out for you. It's going to be you, Nick Caldera, and Johnny Calkins are going to be my 3 one-on-one guys. And I just wanted to limit it to people that I know could do the work, kind of thing.
Excellent, dude. And Johnny's on too. That's excellent. I didn't know that. Cool.
He hit me up out of the blue, out of nowhere, because I was thinking like, man, because I only wanted to take 3 people under my wing max, kind of thing. So, okay, who do I really want to work with for like a year total? It was going to be you. I knew that. It's going to be Nick. It's going to be Johnny. Because Johnny was our builder of the year last year. And then he hit me up out of nowhere on Discord. He'll see this video too. And then we just figure something out for him.
That is so dope, dude. So in terms of closing comments that I'd hit everybody with, man, ultimately, I would just tell you, look, man, if you're looking for a fitness program that's going to actually make a tangible change for fitness as a lifestyle, you cannot do much better than Basics. This is coming from the guy who's been through, 5 different PTs in the past, tried to do it on himself, right? Had hit up friends to send him programs. Basically gone every single avenue trying to dial this in himself. But the thing is the key to accelerating growth and really compounding successes is going to be finding those other driven individuals that are trying to do the same thing that you're doing. And that's really what you're getting out of Basics. That's the best thing Aaron ever sold me, was the community of guys that we're working together with, right? Of course, he's got all of the technical mechanics dialed in. The workouts are exactly where they need to be. It's going to be, worse. I don't want to say worse, but it's going to be more intense than D1 athletic training in several regards, right? He's getting you in there in smart, efficient ways, though, too, which is what I really respect, right? So it's not like you're going and doing a bunch of HIIT cardio until your legs fall off. Once or twice a week, we actually do a lower intensity steady state cardio that's more efficient for your sustained fat loss over time, among other tips and tricks. And then the other thing is he's going to invest in you with his network of mentors and other peers. I had a mindset issue that I really just needed to dial in surrounding my social circle because of all those changes I talked about earlier in my life. He hooked me up with a neurolinguistic programming coach who's done a ton of good for me going back and forth, and really has changed my life in all aspects, because Aaron and the Basics team, the entire Basics team, are committed to over delivering. So if you want to make the tangible change, it's up to you to, make the decision that you want to make the change. But if you have the will, I got to tell you, Aaron Alaniz has got the way.
Awesome, man. Thank you for sharing that, man. That means the absolute world. if you all heard it here first, kind of thing. I know I'm biased, and sometimes it sounds like I'm just kind of speaking a certain way, but it's the dead honest truth kind of thing. If I thought we were garbage at certain things, I would say we were garbage. I get back to basics, pun intended. But if I say that we're the best out there, I promise you we're the best out there, because I've worked with a lot of franchises in the past when I was working for personal training jobs. I've done it all. And we've built the program not only from the expertise standpoint, but also from the consumer standpoint. Because I remember getting an online coach before. The guy has like 30,000 followers to this day on IG kind of thing. Got the course. It was like a freaking Google Doc. And it just made me kind of angry, because they say it this way, but you don't know what you're going to get until you give them your money, which and then you have to sign the non-disclosure. It's a mess kind of thing.
And a lot of people want to sell you a trick too, is the other thing I've noticed, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, the program's literally called Basics, guys, because it's literally just about relentlessly executing on the fundamentals. And that is what is going to get you the long-term lasting change, especially if you're looking for that big lifestyle shift, right? A lot of trainers are going to try to sell you fad diets. They're going to try to sell you high volume, workout pyramid set, calisthenic, crazy things to try to get you to cut weight in 2 weeks that you're going to gain back in 3 months, etc. But I mean, every single decision I've ever seen Aaron and the entire Basics team make has been towards the long game, which has been probably the most impressive thing about the whole deal.
100%. It's like an anti-unique mechanism, which is kind of funny. Everyone else is doing the intermittent fasting or the keto or the carb loading, whatever. It's just like, no, we're just going to do the basics and then go hard kind of thing, to put it simply. If you want to put it in third grade language, find the fundamentals that everybody knows works and go as hard as you can. Be super consistent, and then be around people that are doing the same thing, and you'll succeed. So thank you all for listening to the podcast. Thank you all for watching this on YouTube. And again, if you want to find out more information to see if or how you qualify to work with Basics, please visit www.basicsbrigade.com. You can see a ton of other testimonials that we have there. You can also watch our video training there, just to kind of see a little bit more about my story personally, how we came up with Basics, so on and so forth. And if you're pretty much ready to rock, though, and you don't need to see the training, you're like, hey, man, Ryan pretty much resonates with me just like he resonates with me personally. Freaking, how do I get on, kind of thing. So book a game plan call with me below. This will see if or how you qualify to even hop on an interview call with us, because we're very selective with who we make offers to, simply because, just like Ryan Barker said, it's not something we make up. It's the truth, because of what we have in the community is so special that if we were to get some person that was super negative in here, that maybe had the resources to get in multiple times over, but he's just kind of being mean to everybody, he's boasting on everybody, it would ruin the whole vibe that we got going on. So in order to make sure that you're even ready to hop on an interview call with us, just book a free 15-minute call with me below. Fill out those questions. It takes 3 minutes to change your life, potentially to see where you're going. And that's pretty much it, guys. So thank you all for listening. Thank you all for watching. And again, if no one's told you in a minute, I'll tell you right now, it's time to get your shit together, man. See ya.